see behind me, another helicopter is dropping retardant. You can see right there. We're by this house. Dave and Rochelle literally burned down to the ground. Take a look at this. You can see the shingles from this roof. At 2:48, deputies were dispatched to Breckenridge Road, which is this street, and Palomino Drive, the road straight behind us, for a report of a shooting. When it crashed into this wall behind me, take a look. You can see the tire tracks from where the pickup truck was driving into the wall. A little bit of accumulation, so much, Tim, that I can even write, "Hi, Tim," on the guardrail. How about that? Hi, Tim. There you go. Hi, Tim. The Get Bus Board of Directors authorized the purchase of 5 new electric zero-emission buses that will join the fleet next year. On Valentine's Day, there are things you can't do, but there are things you can do. For this year's Super Bowl Sunday, Mountain Mike's Pizza in Bakersfield expects sales to increase even more than a typical year. We're in the red tier, so what does this mean? Well, restaurants and movie theaters will be able to open up at a capacity of 25% or 100 people, whichever is fewer. You can see what's left of her home, all this rubble and ash here, and you can see the cars burned behind me. Now to the latest on former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, now facing up to 75 years in prison after a jury found him guilty on all counts in the death of George Floyd. Big news from Los Angeles County tonight. Officials there believe they're just a few months shy from reaching herd immunity. We have a lot of veterans here in Kern County. For a second year in a row, COVID-19 is causing nightmares for holiday travelers across the U.S. He just kind of hit a slippery spot there, huh?
Yeah, and
Coach?
he said he wasn't wearing cleats. The tennis shoes sort of slipped on him. Yeah.
It happens. I like that foghorn. Thank you, Miles. Most everyone would agree 2020 was a dumpster fire. A New Mexico town thought that a literal dumpster fire was the perfect way to say farewell to the past year. If 2020 left you so frustrated you could scream, well, now there's a number you can call to let it all out. Sorry. It was there, I had to. As fire season approaches, many Californians are increasingly worried about air quality.
I don't understand. It hurts.
Ryan Dean from Bakersfield had to give up her boys, 4-year-old Oren and 3-year-old Orson, for adoption shortly after each of them were born. They've been living with Trezell and Jacqueline West in California City. Trezell says he last saw the boys in their backyard on Monday night.
I was playing with chalk, and I came in the house. I saw them there. I went in the house. I came back out. I didn't see them now.
He says he immediately asked his wife if she had seen the boys. She said no.
I realized that I left the gate open, and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners.
He says they then called California City Police. Then word spread, and community members who did not know the family started looking for the boys till around midnight.
My daughter was like, no, Mom, we got to do something. We got to help. So we came out, we started driving around town with ballparks, you know, places a little kid would hide, thinking, okay, maybe they just got out of the house, they're scared.
According to California City Police, the two boys were last seen at their house on Monday night. Both boys are described as weighing 35 pounds, 3 feet tall, with brown eyes. Both children were last seen wearing a black sweatshirt and gray sweatpants.
I feel my kids is somewhere around here. I can feel it. And I feel like they're in the house, and I feel like they did something.
Trezell says it's understandable Ryan thinks there was foul play.
I talked to her this morning, and I really wanted to tell her that I am completely sorry because we were entrusted with her children, and they came to us, and they became our children.
Dave Rochelle, the veteran, tells me if he knew the VA was going to ask for this money back, he would have never agreed to sign for it.
It was kind of a shocker.
That's what Bakersfield veteran Joe Baltiera felt when he got a certain letter November 21st.
It was a letter from the VA department, and read it, and it stated that the money I was paid when I got out the 24,000, that basically they wanted it back.
Baltiera, a U.S. Army Desert Storm veteran, says he was discharged from the Army in 1992, not because he wanted to leave, but because the Army was downsizing. He and others were being discharged. He signed to get a special severance benefit payment, $24,992.91. The letter Baltiera just received from the VA says it's the law that Baltiera pays them that money back. The letter says after taxes, he owes them $19,944.33. To recoup this amount, they're planning on withholding the $2,044 disability check he gets a month.
If I would have known that, well, I'm sure a lot of people have said the same thing. If they would have known that this was had to been paid back, it would have been a different story.
He says he is unemployed and hasn't been able to work because of his health disorders.
That money, that's what I've been using to pay the bills on for the last couple of months, because I got laid off last year, and then I was on unemployment. And that stopped recently, well, a couple of months ago.
Danette Dorsey Davis, Public Affairs Officer for the Veterans Affairs Los Angeles Regional Office, gave this statement. We're not able to discuss an individual veteran case. Separation pay is awarded to an individual separated, discharged, or released from active duty. We can say in these situations, a veteran who receives separation pay is not entitled to receive VA disability compensation until the separation pay is paid back. In such instances, VA withholds compensation benefits until the separation pay amount is recouped. DAV, the Disabled American Veterans nonprofit, says they can help veterans with getting compensation from the VA or making an appeal on behalf of a veteran if the veteran appoints them as their legal counsel. The Wounded Heroes Fund and the Armed Forces Support Foundation are some local nonprofits that offer grants to veterans in need. Baltiera reached out to Congressman Kevin McCarthy's office, and it has not heard back from them as of now. In Studio B, David Kaplan, Eyewitness News. This year's peak fire season between May and October is already looking worse than last year's, which was the worst on record for California.
We have a lot of fuel being the forest and others overgrown. You've got some of the driest heat we've had in more than 2 decades, a drought that's happening more than 2 decades. I mean, it's a perfect storm.
Homeowner in Pine Mountain Club, Elisa Christensen, says she worries about fires from March through November.
It's incredibly nerve-wracking. I worry about fire every single day on this mountain.
3 of the 5 most destructive wildfires, or wildfires that have burned the most acres in California history, happened in 2020, and 1 has already happened this year. Patrick Schreffler, adjunct fire technology instructor at Bakersfield College, says what fires need to spread is getting worse.
The problem is primarily due to fuel loading, and the changes in fires in the last, 10 years or so is that we're hitting a real issue with fuel increase.
He says the problem is the volume of fuel. So what's being done for this peak fire season? There's been a reduction in inmates available to fight fires in the state's fire program. The state's realignment and release of inmates means there's fewer convicted lower crime inmates available to fight fires. Fire Chief of CAL FIRE Tom Porter says the state spent $80 million hiring more firefighters to fill that need, left mostly by the loss of inmate fire crews. CAL FIRE now has more for peak fire season than they've ever had.
CAL FIRE, we did receive through early action, and thank you, Governor, for approving that to move forward. 1,399, almost 1,400 additional firefighters.
Schreffler says you can hire lots of firefighters, which is necessary, but when a fire spreads big enough, firefighters won't be able to touch it.
While we have to have more firefighters right now to try to catch the fire while it's small, before it gets well established in those fuels. Once they get well established in those fuels, we're going to have catastrophic fires until we reduce the fuel loading.
So how do you reduce fuel loading more than what's been done?
Fuel breaks all over. We're working in conjunction with CAL FIRE to do a bunch of fuel breaks. You probably saw in the governor's budget a lot of money that was available to do, dealing with the California Climate Initiative through fire prevention.
We were able to draw down $536 million against a $1 billion proposal on forest and fuels management here in the state.
The Wildfire Action Bill Governor Newsom signed in April puts $70 million towards 20 different forest health projects, ranging from prescribed fire to forest fire fuel reduction.
Projects that are going to enhance forest health and make those forests more resilient to wildfire, pest outbreaks, disease, and impacts from drought.
We started the summer with the shell and tumbleweed fires near the Grapevine I-5, and at the end of the summer, fire crews got control of the French fire. In Wofford Heights, David Kaplan, Eyewitness News.